I am angry.
Angry and upset?
Angry and upset and determined. The United States Congress can keep Roe versus Wade the law of the land. They just need to do it.
I've never seen you so angry. You seem to be...
This is what the Republicans have been working toward this day for decades. They have been out there plotting, carefully cultivating these Supreme Court justices so they could have a majority on the bench who would accomplish something that the majority of Americans do not want. 69% of people across this country, red states and blue states, old people and young people, want Roe versus Wade to maintain as the law of the land. We need to do that. And we have a right. Extremists, we've heard enough from the extremists. And we're tired of it. Thank you.
Senator, does this open the door for other constitutional rights?
That was a video of Elizabeth Warren's reaction to the recent news that a Supreme Court opinion had been leaked, which outlines the overturn of Roe versus Wade. And her emotional response is something that I think a lot of people across the country are feeling right now in this moment. Because the truth of the matter is that this reflects not only an attack on a right to an abortion that has been a constitutional right for 50 years, but also a reflection of the fact that the Supreme Court has completely disconnected itself from any responsibility to obey any type of public opinion or any type of historical precedent of the Constitution. Now, the Supreme Court has a long record of actively undermining progress. But in this moment, what we are seeing is a drastic escalation. Because if you read through this leaked opinion, what you will find is that they call into question case law that has established many rights that we have today. For example, marriage equality, contraception, the right to engage in intimate relations with people in ways that aren't cis heteronormative. Many things that we take for granted today are being threatened. And on top of this, there are currently cases that are making their way to the Supreme Court as to whether or not states will be allowed to criminalize the existence of trans people. And the fact that these Republicans are so willing to overturn Roe versus Wade, do we really need to think about whether or not they'd be willing to criminalize the existence of trans people? We know exactly where this is going. And so Elizabeth Warren's frustration is very, very relatable. But it's even more relatable because you need to understand that she's part of an institution that is fundamentally refusing to do anything that is necessary to stop this from happening. Any type of measure that is necessary to protect Roe versus Wade, to protect any of the litany of rights that are being threatened right now, is basically considered completely off the table because Chuck Schumer said he's not going to do anything about the filibuster. I mean, they're going to vote on it, but they're not going to do anything about the filibuster. So we all know how it's going to end up. The harsh reality is an extremist, violent minority of Americans, the far right, has a disproportionate amount of representation both in Congress, the Senate, and in the Supreme Court, and they are willing to legislate from the Supreme Court an extremist agenda that literally will lead to an extreme amount of human suffering across the country. The policies from these right-wingers are explicitly violent in their nature. They are designed structurally to cause harm intentionally. That is the whole purpose. The fact that the Democratic Party is largely responding by sending out fundraising emails speaks to the shamelessness of the Democratic Party in this moment. The fact that Democrats have the House, Senate, and the presidency in this moment reveals the reality that while they are capable of making the changes that are necessary, they fundamentally refuse to for the sake of tradition. The harsh reality is that so long as these Democrats are in office and financially comfortable, supported by their donors, they will do nothing to fundamentally change the system. They will not even do anything to preserve the system as it is. And they will sit on their pile of cash while the extreme right steamrolls them and destroys any shred of rights that exist within the United States. So while it may be heartening to see that there are people like Elizabeth Warren that are actually emotionally invested in this issue, the reality is that as long as the line is to just vote in response to these crises, then nothing will fundamentally change. Because so long as giant corporations feel perfectly comfortable supporting these extreme right politicians, then the extreme right will continue to be overrepresented. Because the harsh reality about the United States of America is that our government does not work for the people, and it never has. It has always been there to serve the interests of giant corporations. Just look at the fact that public opinion has no effect on the law to see the reality reality that the United States has never been committed to democracy. So unless there's a mass mobilization and real organization, things that impact the direct ability of these giant corporations that support these extremists to make a profit, then nothing will change. Because while they say that voting will fix things, we had a supermajority under Obama, and they still didn't codify Roe v. Wade into the law. Even a Democratic supermajority is not enough to make change. Voting simply is not enough.
This is Ben Carollo with Rebel Headquarters. You can catch my show Galaxy Brain on the Young Turks Twitch channel every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. If you want to stay up to date with my content, you can follow me at Benjamin Carollo on Twitter. And for those of you that might be wondering or have noticed, my pronouns are in fact she, her.